Hi, welcome back to my channel and my review for Joker 2 Folie à Deux. And this is a movie that's already been out for maybe a week and a half at this point, but I am still going to keep it as spoiler free as I can just because it is still relatively early in the release for this movie. Of course, it's already very maligned, this film, so I went into it really open-minded because there are a lot of people on the internet still defending it as this misunderstood masterpiece, and people are jumping too quickly to say it's awful because it's so different. And I wanted to be somebody on that side, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with a consensus on this one. I did not really like this movie, and I think the more I've thought about it, the more I've sat with it, the less I like it. So sadly, it's going to be a negative review for the Joker 2. I wasn't desperate for a sequel, I'm not going to lie. I mean, the first movie I thought was pretty good. It was quite good, really. I mean, it's a decent movie. I thought it was well directed, well done. I am actually a much bigger fan of the Scorsese films that inspired it, especially King of Comedy. I think that's just a fantastic movie. And Joker wasn't so much just inspired by that as a complete copy of that movie, I think. But, nonetheless, with the DC mark on it as well, told in the Batman world, it was interesting, and I did really enjoy the film, but I would have been happy with that being the only Joker film we've got. But, given the fact that the thing made so much money, I think if I'm right, at the time, I'm not sure if this has changed now, but I know when this was made, it was the most profitable or highest grossing R-rated movie that's ever been made. So, a sequel was inevitable at the end of the day, I guess, and here we are. And they decided to go in a very unique direction with it and turn it into a musical and also a courtroom drama, which was, certainly bold. You can't take that away from them. So getting into the plot here, this one follows directly from the events of the first, following Arthur, the Joker, in prison awaiting trial. And the trial is going to be all about trying to work out whether he suffers from a split personality disorder. Was it this alter ego of his that's the one that had committed all these atrocities? Or is it in fact, him consciously bringing to life this character of the Joker as a call to the people, a cry for help? The story and the courtroom section of the film is all about getting to the bottom of who is really responsible for everything that went down in the first film. And of course here you've got Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn thrown into the mix as per the title, the twin delusion or whatever it means. So following these two characters in this story. Okay, so talking about the good stuff here, what did I actually like about Joker 2? The performances are still pretty damn good. Joaquin Phoenix is extremely talented. He's quite an amazing actor. He's very well suited to this role of the Joker. And I do still feel like he's really giving his all to it. He's putting his full commitment into this role. And if I'm not mistaken, he was still very on board with this project and the direction that Todd Phillips decided to go with this story. So you can see he definitely still cares about the story, the character and everything. And he is quite amazing to watch. Lady Gaga, she's really good, but I think she's somewhat wasted here. We'll get into that when I go and talk more about the negative stuff, because I don't like the writing or the direction they took the character. But in terms of her performance, Lady Gaga's good. She's an amazing singer. You've got this as a musical and she's got an amazing voice, which obviously helps. But, I think the performances all round are still very strong. It is well directed. Todd Phillips has proven himself to be a very competent, very good director. There's a much bigger budget on this one as well, so the film looks amazing as well. When it's not just taking place inside a dingy jail cell, when it's actually little scenes in between the trial and the prison when they're out and about and you see the city of Gotham, looks quite amazing, does look quite amazing, but that should be expected given the budget. And there are a few interesting scenes in it. I think, it definitely goes in some unique directions, takes some risks, definitely subverts expectations with some of the twists and direction it decides to go. But I do still think there is some good scenes in here. More so in the back half. I think towards the end, there are some more engaging scenes where I thought, oh, this is interesting. Where are they going with this? And I liked the fact that we waited for the build up to that, and some things that happened in the second half I thought were quite interesting. Other than that, though, I've got to be honest, as I say, I went in really open-minded, really wanted to like this, but I couldn't get on board with it. And I think, already I'm not really the target audience for this. I don't really like musicals all that much. Once in a while, a more family-friendly musical where it's, big, memorable songs. It's telling the story that way. And I can sometimes get into it. But something about a dark drama, when it suddenly gets into, your intense scenes of characters talking and stuff, and then suddenly it goes into song and dance, I just find it a little bit off-putting for some reason. And here, even though some of the songs are quite well done, it's, there's definitely talent involved here, but I found some of it a little bit cringy, these kind of two misunderstood characters suddenly singing together, and it's not progressing the story forward. It's all mainly taking place within their heads. So it's just like them daydreaming and singing and dancing together and stuff, and I don't know, it disrupted the flow of it for me. I feel like this film probably would have worked better not being told as a musical. Normally with a musical, the musical elements of the songs, the dancing, it all moves that story. It really drives the story forward. The film wouldn't be the same without it, but I feel like here, the singing and dancing is just there in between each of the scenes and doesn't really do that much in order to actually move the story in any interesting direction. So, already I was a little bit put off by the fact they decided to do this as a musical. And then obviously you get into the second half and it becomes this more courtroom drama. And I feel like one of the things about courtroom dramas that actually makes them interesting is where there's a bit of mystery to it, a lot of details. You're kind of juggling with all this information, trying to work out what could have happened, and here I didn't really feel that. I didn't really feel like I was trying to work out what had happened. Either he is the Joker and that's the story, obviously, of the Joker, or he's just this completely misunderstood character with a mental illness, and I wasn't that interested in really getting to the bottom of that. That was the main problem. Fair enough, they're trying to do something with that. They're trying to talk about themes that were addressed in the first film. Fine. It's just whether it's actually interesting and engaging or not, and I didn't find it to be so. Maybe that is just me, but I was having trouble staying interested in all of it really, the first half, but particularly with all the courtroom stuff. And again, I do like courtroom dramas. It's a genre that I do quite enjoy, but here there just wasn't enough intrigue for me to really get invested in that side of it. I think the first half is quite boring. That's one of the big problems with this movie. Is it's sort of a long film. It's 2.5 hours, and I felt that running time. I really did. It's one of those things where when you're not on board with a film that's going in a very bold and different direction. If it's quite unusual and you're not getting involved with it, you can really feel that running time. And that was one of my big issues here. The first half, it just wasn't engaging enough. It wasn't engaging enough, and the direction they decide to go, just kind of going back over issues from the first, getting to the bottom of Arthur's mental state. And if you find that interesting, fair enough. But for me personally, there was not enough material here to warrant this big 2.5 hour sequel. I wasn't sure at all about the writing of Lady Gaga's character, Harley Quinn, and the direction they started to take her. They've got the love story angle here where she comes into this prison and she's obsessed with Joker, or his personification of Joker, this character that he's brought to life. She's obsessed with this part of him, and wants to get to know him, and he falls for her because she's Lady Gaga, I guess. I don't think the chemistry is properly established between the two. They just meet, they're already in love, and their communication is basically all through the musical numbers, the song and the dance between them. And the characters don't actually get that much screen time together. Her character doesn't get much screen time at all, I don't feel like. If you really added up the minutes, she's not in a lot of the film, and I didn't feel like they did a lot to really develop her character. They do some reveals and twists and turns with her in the second half, what she's really up to, what she's really about. They try and do some stuff with that, but again, it subverts expectations. It's unique. A lot of people will not expect a lot of the directions that this is going in. There's maybe something interesting that was going on there, maybe the more I've thought about it, but it's just the way it was executed. It just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like it's fitting within this movie. And yeah, just a lot of the decisions are very bizarre. Like how they wrote the characters, how they wrote the story. Just a lot of very strange decision making that seemingly went on with this movie. And, you know, I've seen a lot of an analysis for this film since having gone to see it now. And a lot of people are defending it, saying it's this misunderstood masterpiece. But at the end of the day, I kind of, as I was watching it, I found myself thinking, like, what does this guy have to do? What does Todd Phillips have to do in this movie before you start thinking, okay, this is too far. Like, this has gone too far. It's too weird now. This isn't working anymore. It's not flowing nicely. It's not a good, interesting, engaging story. What would he have to do to turn you off? But that did kind of cross my mind as I was watching this, because I'm not somebody that has to have boxes ticked about what a sequel should be, and I'm not married to the original Joker, so it wasn't like I needed it to go a certain direction. Bring Batman in, bring all these story arcs that are faithful to the comics. I'm not somebody that necessarily needed that at all. I was intrigued to see them do something different, but I just don't think the movie works, and it's not a very pleasant experience. I wouldn't be interested in rewatching this. So fair enough, if you like it, if the content here and the story is something that really interests you, going into working out whether he is actually the Joker or not, if that stuff is really interesting you, I can understand why you were brought in by this movie and why you would have got more enjoyment out of it than I did. It's just, I feel like if you're not interested from the get-go, it loses you, and then it becomes a real chore to get through it, I felt, sadly. So, yeah, this one wasn't for me. Definitely still go and give it a try, because a lot of people are saying it's a masterpiece, that it's misunderstood, that it's going to, people are saying in 20 years, people are going to look back and say this was an incredible movie that people couldn't accept at the time, and that is maybe, but for me now, doesn't work for me, so I'm only going to give this one a 2 out of 5, sadly. But please do let me know down in the comments what you think of Joker 2, if you've seen it already. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching this review. Take care, and I'll see you next time.